What compels someone to venture into the icy, winding depths of a cave, where a single moment can steal your breath forever? In Norway's Plura cave, the deepest underwater cave system in northern Europe, crystalline waters and marble formations hide a merciless gauntlet of narrow passages and frigid currents. This is the haunting true story of Jared Hyers, a celebrated cave diver whose life was claimed by Plura's unforgiving depths in 2024. Now let's dive into the story like cave divers. Jared Hyers, a 33-year-old American, was a luminary in the cave diving world. As general manager of Dive Right, a pioneering technical diving equipment company founded by his father, Lamar Hyers, Jared grew up immersed in the sport. From age 5, he breathed through his father's regulator, and by 15, he became the youngest certified closed-circuit rebreather (CCR) diver, mastering complex systems that recycle air for extended dives. Plura Cave, located in Rana, Norway, was a familiar challenge, with its 36 to 44 degrees Fahrenheit waters and passages stretching nearly 3 kilometers. Jared had dived Plura in 2022 and returned in April 2024 with a team of 9 international divers for a week of exploration. On April 3rd, he planned a check-up dive with 2 teammates to prepare for a deeper dive the next day. He carefully inspected his CCR unit, likely the Dive Right Oxygen Optima, ensuring oxygen sensors, scrubber, and bailout regulators were functional. His dry suit was fitted for thermal protection against Plura's frigid waters, and his dive computer was set to monitor depth and gas mix. The team reviewed their route to the wetting chamber, a massive air-filled cavern 110 feet deep, relying on guideline ropes to navigate the maze. Jared's expertise fueled his confidence, but an unseen event may occur, a risky sport that had claimed many lives, especially in this very deadly Plura cave. In early 2024, Plura's high visibility and marble-lined tunnels drew divers from across Europe, but its history was stained with tragedy. Jared, aware of these risks, knew cave diving's mortality rate far exceeded other extreme sports. Yet his passion, his escape and happy place, drove him to clip onto the guideline and descend into Plura's chilling waters on April 3rd, chasing the thrill of the unknown. The 3-diver team, with Jared as the third in line, followed the guideline to the wetting chamber, reaching a maximum depth of 34 meters, 110 feet, in 30 minutes. The dive was uneventful, and they surfaced in the air-filled chamber for equipment checks, confirming all systems were operational. As they began their return, Jared trailed behind the lead diver, Diver 1, and the middle diver, Diver 2, who was new to Plura. At 250 meters from the surface, 16 minutes into the return dive, disaster struck. Jared's dive log recorded a sudden 4-meter descent from 25 to 29 meters in under 20 seconds. Diver 1, assisting Diver 2 with a failed primary light, noticed Jared's dive light moving erratically and heard him screaming, possibly trying to signal a problem. Turning back, Diver 1 found Jared in full tonic-clonic convulsions, a tonic-clonic seizure, his rebreather loop out of his mouth but closed, suggesting a failed attempt to switch to his bailout regulator. Jared's seizure was likely triggered by a pre-existing medical condition. In 2023, he had suffered an unprovoked seizure, and his family had a history of rare, unexplained seizures linked to overexertion, stress, or dehydration. A tonic-clonic seizure causes violent muscle contractions, loss of consciousness, and jaw clenching, making it impossible to maintain a regulator or control buoyancy. In diving, such an event is catastrophic, as the diver cannot swim or breathe effectively. Dan's analysis ruled out oxygen toxicity, as Jared's closed-circuit rebreather showed only a brief, post-seizure spike in oxygen partial pressure, PPO2, to 1.3, within safe limits. A recent viral infection with flu-like symptoms and gastrointestinal issues, combined with dehydration from intercontinental travel, may have heightened his risk. Jared likely didn't know that a first-time seizure carries a 25 to 41% chance of recurrence within 2 years, a risk amplified in the extreme underwater environment. The rescue effort was immediate and heroic. Diver 1, unable to secure Jared's airway due to his clenched jaw, swam the still convulsing Diver 250 meters toward the exit, managing depth changes and equipment to maintain buoyancy. Diver 2 raced ahead to alert surface support. A surface diver met them near the exit, assisting Diver 1 in bringing Jared to the surface. They used a harness to secure Jared's body, navigating tight passages and sharp marble edges while maintaining guideline contact to avoid disorientation. At the surface, within 3 minutes, paramedics deployed a defibrillator and performed cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, for over an hour, but Jared could not be revived. His body was placed in a waterproof body bag to protect it during transport from the remote Plura Valley site to authorities, a grueling task requiring coordination with local police and emergency services. The effort, though heroic, made the team and first responders emotionally shattered, adding another tragic chapter to Plura's grim legacy. This loss devastated the diving community. Jared wasn't just Dive Right's general manager. He was a husband, father of 2, and a mentor whose warmth and expertise inspired divers worldwide. From Mexico's cenotes to Russia's Orda Cave, he'd explored the planet's most challenging underwater terrains, yet Plura claimed him in a moment of vulnerability. The cave doesn't discriminate. It punishes even the most skilled with merciless precision. Jared's death sparked urgent calls for better medical screening in cave diving. The community emphasized safety measures that could have prevented this tragedy, mandatory medical disclosures for prior seizures, as even one unprovoked episode disqualifies divers under DAN guidelines. Pre-dive health checks for dehydration or recent illnesses, using hydration tests or electrolyte monitoring, and enhanced training for seizure response, such as practicing rapid bailout to a secondary regulator or buddy-assisted ascents. A buddy system with closer monitoring might have allowed Diver 1 to notice Jared's distress sooner, potentially stabilizing him before the seizure escalated. Plura's operators now stress rigorous pre-dive briefings, echoing the mantra of seasoned diver Patrick. Plan your dive, dive your plan. Check gear twice, disclose health risks, and never dive alone. Jared's loss became a sobering lesson. No cave forgives a hidden weakness. Plura Cave remains a paradox. Its shimmering waters and vast chambers a diver's dream, its history a chilling warning. Jared's story lingers in the minds of every diver who enters its depths, a reminder of the fragility beneath the thrill. His legacy endures through Dive Right and the community he inspired, but his fate underscores the cost of adventure. Hit that like button if Jared's story shook you to your core. Share your thoughts in the comments. Would you dare dive Plura, or is this nightmare enough to keep you on the surface? Subscribe and tap the bell for more chilling stories that'll haunt you long after the screen goes dark. Plura's caves wait silently, and Jared's story reminds us, the underwater world doesn't forgive, and some journeys demand a price too risky to pay. It was February 6, 2014, in the dead of a Norwegian winter. 5 Finnish divers, Patrick Granqvist, Jari Hutarinen, Vesa Rantanen, Jari Usamaki, and Kai Kankinen, stood at the edge of Plura Cave, their breath visible in the freezing air. These weren't amateurs. They were seasoned cave divers, bonded by years of exploring places like Finland's Ojamo mine. Patrick, Kai, and their friend Sami Pakarinen had even mapped Plura's connection to the Steinugl dry cave the year before, a major feat in the caving world. Their goal that day was ambitious, a 5-hour traverse from Plura's icy pond to Steinugl, a grueling 2,000-meter journey through passages as narrow as a coffin, plunging to depths over 130 meters. The water, barely above freezing at 2 to 4 degrees Celsius, could tear a dry suit on jagged rocks. One wrong move, and you're done. The team split into 2 groups. Patrick and Jari Hutarinen went first, cutting a triangular hole in the ice-covered Plura pond with a chainsaw. They slipped into the water, their underwater scooters humming, pulling them through the cave's clear but bone-chilling depths. Equipped with rebreathers to recycle their air and bailout tanks for emergencies, they were ready for the challenge. The first 500 meters were straightforward, leading to a shallow chamber where less experienced divers might turn back. But these two pushed on, descending deeper into a tight, pitch-black section called the sump, where the cave drops to 130 meters. About an hour in, at 110 meters deep, disaster struck. Jari Huteronen's scooter leash snagged on a rock. He tugged, trying to free himself, but the cord held tight. Panic crept in. In the freezing dark, he struggled to switch from his rebreather to an open-circuit bailout tank. His breathing grew frantic, overloading the rebreather with carbon dioxide. Hypercapnia, carbon dioxide poisoning, set in, clouding his mind. He inhaled water, and in moments he drowned, trapped in the narrow passage. Patrick, just ahead, realized Jari Huteronen wasn't behind him. He turned back, his headlamp catching his friend's lifeless body tangled in the cord. Desperate, Patrick tried to free him, even passing him a bailout cylinder, but it was too late. Jari Huteronen was gone. With no way to move the body through the tight squeeze, Patrick had no choice but to keep going to survive. The dive, meant to take 5 hours, stretched to over 8 as he fought through decompression stops to avoid the bends. He surfaced at Steinuguflaget, exhausted, breaking through a thin layer of ice to reach the air, haunted by what he'd left behind. 2 hours after the first team, Vesa, Jari Yusamaki, and Kai entered the cave, unaware of the tragedy ahead. They followed the same path, their scooters speeding them through the icy water. When they reached the sump, Vesa spotted Jari Huteronen's body blocking the narrow passage. Shock hit hard. He faced a brutal choice, tried to squeeze past, risking getting stuck, or turn back through the cave's deepest section. Vesa chose to push forward, barely slipping by. But Jari Yusamaki, behind him, panicked. Norwegian police later said seeing his friend's body likely sent him into a shock. His breathing spiked, and his rebreather couldn't handle the strain. Like Jari Huteronen, he succumbed to hypercapnia and drowned, his body left in the cave's grip. Kai, trailing last, saw the chaos unfold. Unsure if he was the only survivor, he turned back, swimming over 10 hours to reach the Plura entrance. He smashed through the frozen surface, emerging in the early morning, battered and shaken. The 3 survivors, Patrick, Vesa, and Kai, were rushed to a hospital in Tromsø, treated for decompression sickness. Vesa suffered spinal injuries from the ordeal. Norwegian authorities sealed Plura Cave, calling it too dangerous for recovery. Although they had brought in British divers Rick Stanton, John Volanthen, and Jason Mallinson to retrieve the bodies, but the mission was deemed too risky after reconnaissance. The cave was banned from further exploration, leaving Jari Huteronen and Jari Yusamaki trapped in its depths. But the survivors couldn't let their friends stay there. Driven by loyalty, they planned a secret mission. 7 weeks later, joined by Sami Pakarinen and a team of 14 Finns and 11 Norwegians, they returned to Plura, defying the ban. "We know this cave like our own pockets," Sami told the BBC. "It's the most challenging dive you can do, but we owed it to them." The recovery was a 5-day battle against the cave's icy, narrow passages. Team 1 entered from Plura, aiming to free Jari Huteronen's body at 120 meters, tangled in the sump. They had just 10 to 15 minutes to cut his gear loose before their air ran low. Team 2 worked from Steinuguflaget, tackling Jari Yusamaki's body the next day. They set up an underwater habitat at 6 meters for safer decompression, knowing the cold could kill if they stayed too long. Every move was a risk: sharp rocks, zero visibility if silt stirred up, and the constant threat of equipment failure. But their planning paid off. They freed Jari Huteronen's body, pulling him by his feet through the sump, and brought Jari Yusamaki out the next day. After 2.5 hours of decompression, they surfaced, their mission complete but their hearts heavy. The documentary Diving into the Unknown, filmed with helmet cameras, captured every harrowing moment, spreading their story worldwide. Plura's tragedy wasn't its first. A Norwegian diver died there in 2006, yet the cave reopened after the 2014 recovery. Its beauty, clear waters, marble formations, and a submerged ancient forest, keeps drawing divers, but its dangers are undeniable. Between 1969 and 2007, 368 cave divers died worldwide. The cave's allure is its curse. A half-kilometer swim to a colorful grotto is tempting, but the deeper sump to Steinigal Flagget is a killer. Nitrogen narcosis, hypercapnia, and freezing water can turn a dream dive into a death trap. Panic kills faster than anything, Kai Kankinen said, reflecting on how fear can unravel even the best. This story will grip you or any horror fans because it's pure terror, being stuck in an icy, pitch-black tunnel, your air fading, your friend's body blocking the way. For cavers, it's a brutal reminder of the stakes. No GPS, no backup, just you and the cave. The Finnish divers' bond drove their recovery mission, an indication of strong friendship and honor. Patrick, Vesa, and Kai risked everything to bring their friends home, defying authorities and the cave itself. The documentary, viewed by millions, keeps their story alive, with GoPro footage showing the raw fear and determination. Plura remains open, its icy waters still calling to divers. But every caver knows the truth. One mistake, and you're part of the cave forever. Always dive with a buddy, check your gear, and respect the cave's power. The survivors learn that the hard way, and their scars, physical and emotional. On August 16, 2006, a Norwegian diver ventured into this icy underworld, chasing the thrill of exploration. He never returned. This is the chilling true story of a lone diver's fatal descent into Plura's depths, a tragedy that cemented its reputation as Scandinavia's deadliest cave. The diver, whose name remains private in most records, was an experienced Norwegian cave diver, likely a member of a local diving group like Norsk Teknisk Dykkerkrets, which had been mapping Plura since the 1980s. He was no stranger to the cave's challenges, holding certifications in technical and cave diving, possibly including closed-circuit rebreather CCR training, common for deep cave explorations. On August 15, 2006, he arrived at a farm near Plura's entrance, likely Jordbrua, with a trailer of gear, a rebreather, multiple high-capacity cylinders, a dry suit for the 2 degrees Celsius water, an underwater scooter for navigating long passages, and backup lights. His plan was to dive from Plura's ice-covered pond, explore a deep section of the 3.5-kilometer system, possibly toward the wetting chamber at 114 feet, and return. He checked his rebreather's oxygen and diluent levels, calibrated his dive computer for decompression stops, and tested his scooter's propulsion. Alone, he relied on a half-inch braided guideline rope as his lifeline through the cave's maze. His preparation was thorough, but Plura's cold, narrow passages and unpredictable currents would test even the most seasoned diver. The diver knew cave diving was 10 times riskier than open-water scuba, with equipment failure and carbon dioxide buildup among the top hazards. Yet, the allure of Plura's uncharted depths drove him to cut a hole in the ice, clip onto the guideline, and descend into the frigid, dark waters on August 16, chasing the unknown. The dive began smoothly, with the diver following the guideline through Plura's initial passages to a depth of around 100 meters, likely aiming for the wetting chamber, a large air-filled cave where divers can surface briefly. But something went catastrophically wrong. Inspectors later determined that an equipment failure, possibly a torn dry suit, a faulty rebreather valve, or a damaged regulator, led to an out-of-air situation. In Plura's 2 degrees Celsius water, a dry suit tear could cause rapid hypothermia, numbing the body and clouding the mind. A rebreather malfunction could flood the breathing loop or fail to scrub carbon dioxide, causing hypercapnia, dizziness and panic from carbon dioxide buildup. Alone, without a buddy to share air or signal for help, the diver likely struggled to switch to a bailout cylinder as his air supply dwindled. Disoriented in the dark, narrow passage, he ran out of breathable gas and drowned, his body trapped deep in the cave's icy grip. The recovery effort was a grueling test of skill and courage. On August 28, 2006, a team of British divers, including experts like Rick Stanton, known for cave rescues, entered Plura to retrieve the body. They used side-mount configurations, with tanks clipped to their sides for maneuverability, and carried redundant cylinders to ensure air supply in the low-visibility, high-risk environment. Following the guideline rope, they located the diver's body, likely entangled in a restriction or pinned by currents, using wired intercoms and hand signals to coordinate in silt-choked waters. They secured the body with a harness and rope system, carefully pulling it through tight passages to avoid dislodging sharp limestone or stirring up silt, which could blind them for hours. In the narrowest sections, they used handheld chisels to chip away rock, widening the path while maintaining precise buoyancy to protect their own gear. Once freed, the body was sealed in a waterproof body bag to prevent damage during the ascent. The team navigated back to Plura's entrance, staging decompression stops at 6 meters to avoid decompression sickness, a process taking hours in the freezing water. At the surface, they transferred the body to authorities via a rope track across the icy valley, a somber task that underscored Plura's deadly toll. The recovery, lasting nearly 2 weeks after the diver was reported missing, became a grim tale in diving circles, shared in forums and hushed campfire stories. This tragedy hit Norway's diving community hard. The diver was likely a friend or colleague to local explorers, his loss a stark reminder of Plura's unforgiving nature. Why did an experienced diver perish? The cave's extreme conditions, cold, depth, and isolation, amplified a single equipment failure into a death sentence. Without a buddy, there was no one to intervene when disaster struck. The 2006 tragedy prompted divers to rethink safety in Plura. Regular equipment checks, testing rebreather seals, regulator hoses, and dry suit integrity could have caught a fault before the dive. Diving with a buddy ensures immediate help in emergencies, like sharing a bailout cylinder or freeing a stuck diver. Dive computers with audible alarms enforce safe ascent rates, 30 feet per minute maximum, to prevent decompression issues. Training for equipment failure, such as practicing bailout procedures in low-visibility conditions, can mean survival. The diver might have lived if a buddy had been there to share air or manage a malfunction. Norwegian diver Sven Grundström, who first explored Plura in 1980, emphasized, "Check your gear, know your limits, and never dive alone." The cave demands vigilance, or it claims lives. Plura remains a paradox. Its pristine waters and marble caves a siren's call, its dangers a grave warning. Every diver who enters pauses, haunted by those lost to its depths. This story isn't just about one man's end. It's about the razor-thin line between adventure and disaster, the thrill of pushing limits, and the terror of crossing them. It lingers, creeping into your thoughts in the dark. Before you go, hit that like button if this tragedy shook you to your core. Share in the comments. Could you face Plura's freezing tunnels? Or is this enough to swear off cave diving forever? Subscribe and tap the bell for more chilling tales that'll haunt you long after the screen goes dark. Plura's depths wait silently, and this diver's story reminds us, the underground is merciless, and some adventures cost everything. Stay safe, and thanks for watching.